So
Yes.
we are live. And Mika, I want to hear all your news. You said you just got back to New York. I have been in a bubble these last 3 weeks, sitting in the courthouse, sitting behind Luigi Mangione for the pre-trial suppression hearings. I'm hoping that tomorrow is the last day, because the judge said yesterday that he'd like it to be the last day. I would quite like for it to be the last day, I must say. But one of the things that happens when you get involved and cover these trials is that you feel like you're in a bubble, and so many things are going on in the world that I sort of feel a little bit out of touch with. So I want you, Mika, to bring me up to speed on this whirlwind of nothing that I think you're going to tell me it is, regarding the peace talks where we are. I feel like I'm on a loop. I keep reading that Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff are meeting with the Russians. I think they're meeting again this weekend.
Yes, and nothing is happening. Nothing is happening. It's the same as again and again. Same people. They keep on meeting, and we don't expect anything to happen. Probably the only possibility to have a change is have you seen that Tucker Carlson claims that tonight the war against Venezuela should start, according to his sources. So should we wait for the war for the invasion of Venezuela to begin today? And if it happens, that will change the situation globally. That will change the whole landscape in terms of U.S. versus Russia. That will obviously hurt Russia. That will obviously at least change the situation on the oil markets. And definitely, Russia is so much more dependent on the oil market, as like much more than any other country in the world. Russian economy is more or less stable, much more stable than we used to think 3 years ago. But still, if anything happens to the oil prices, that would be the only possible leverage on Putin's regime. So no matter how
that would be extraordinary. So I haven't seen this. So Tucker Carlson is saying we're boots on the ground in Venezuela?
War bombings, probably. I need to check it again. I saw it. I saw just in news quoting him.
Right. Well, of course, we wait to see whether that is messaging coming out of the Trump White House. I mean, obviously we know that it's no secret they want Maduro gone. And this, who knows if the messaging is real or whether it's part of a pressure campaign to persuade him to get out. Well, God, I mean, obviously, if that happens, you and I will be back on here.
If that happens, that would mean that the person who's just won the FIFA peace prize would be the person to declare a war against Venezuela, and we are all waiting for his address. Yeah.
Yes. Well, but I mean, okay, so we wait to see. But I mean, it's possible, Mikhail, maybe the president has been reading your Substack newsletters, because he must surely realize that, he has basically, it would seem from the reporting that I've read, that he, in these negotiations, is trying to give Putin everything he's asked for, right? It can land concessions,
and that was not enough, and that was still not enough. Yeah,
right. And it's not, and it's not getting him anywhere. And the latest, I see coming in over the wires, Putin now insulting, calling Europeans piggies or something. I mean, he really is the Russian version of Donald Trump, or Donald Trump is
Uh,
the American version of Vladimir Putin. But I mean,
it's funny, but do you remember that during our previous conversations, I was quoting former president of Russia, Dmitry Medvedev, because he is very active on social media. He's not posting on Twitter or Truth Social, but he's got his own Telegram channel. That's an important social media in Russia. And actually, he was acting all of these years as the most outrageous and the most like he was cursing, he was swearing, he looked terrible, and he was the first to use this word, like piggys, when he was talking about European politicians. And I remember when we were discussing that um, phenomena, that Russian counterpart of Donald Trump, or the person who is controversial and who is very open on social media, is the person who used to be Russian President Dmitry Medvedev, but now he's more or less no one. And I was explaining that, saying that he plays that role because he expresses what Putin thinks, but
right, yes,
but in some extent, Putin cannot say that aloud. So there is a special mission to
that,
to Medvedev to be as rude as possible, because that's exactly what Putin thinks. And now we see Putin literally quoting Medvedev's blog and using the same word. It's a funnier word in Russian. It's not just a piggy. It's подствинки, that like, it's like a pig that is under some bigger pig. So
yeah.
it's like,
Okay,
it's
right.
yeah, it's a
There's a
double
more nuanced meaning.
a double humiliation. So probably there is like a big pig, which is the United States, and little piggies under the big one, which are European countries, according to this metaphor. And both of them use the same metaphor to insult European countries. Yes.
Well, so I'm assuming I mean, I feel like this is almost a stupid question to ask you, that you're not expecting anything to come out of the talks in Miami this weekend.
I'm slightly bored with my comments myself, because you remember, for many months already, I keep on saying the same boring thing, that I don't expect to see any kind of peace deal, because I don't believe that Putin wants any kind of peace. He needs the war. He's fine with this war. He's absolutely, he never speaks about any kind of peace domestically. For domestic audience, he always repeats that we should not make any kind of ceasefire, because it's premature, because all those enemies from the West, they want to rob us from our victory, and we deserve victory. We are very close. We need to continue fighting. And obviously, the way how this the government works, he has restructured economy. Um, he clearly needs the war as the instrument to control the country. And the latest uh, that was ridiculous when so-called Trump's plan was unveiled, and it was exactly Putin's plan. And
Yeah.
somehow Putin was not happy. Somehow Putin started criticizing that, and Russian propaganda hated it, and they spent hours and hours explaining why all those preconditions, which were set by Vladimir Putin, don't work. So basically, they haven't even accepted their own plan. So no, I don't see any possibility. So yeah, they're trying to pretend, and at the same time, I think that something different could happen. They want to have those different tracks. They want to talk about bilateral relationship with Donald Trump, about money, about making business, and to forget about Ukraine. So if there is some kind of cooperation. There could be some kind of cooperation. I think that Kirill Dmitriev, the chief
Yeah.
negotiator from the Russian side, who's all-time buddy of Jared Kushner, and Jared Kushner, they can come to some kind of their own peace deal.
Yes.
Not
And I mean, Jared Kushner, I think at this point, I've been historically his staunchest critic, but I have been also sort of on the record, saying that what he achieved in the Middle East, is extraordinary. And I think that he, clearly, he wants to show that past is prologue, right? That he wants a repeat. He wants something, right? I mean, otherwise, why bother show up if you're him?
um, I think I can expect that some new cooperation, despite of the war, will continue, and
Yeah.
will I do expect that maybe um, later this year or early, in the beginning of the next year, some sanctions might be lifted. We see that something is happening.
Yeah.
The most important news from Belarus happened just a few days ago. There was the remarkable amount of the most important opposition leaders from Belarus were released from Belarusian prisons. One of them was Maria Kolesnikova, a woman who was the symbol of the protests of 2020. She was amazing inspiration for the whole nation, the star number one, and she spent 5 years in prison. Uh, there was no news about her health, if she was okay, if she was alive. For many months and months, she was out of touch with her lawyers, and finally, Belarusian dictator Alexander Lukashenko set her free. She is now free. She was released along with Nobel Prize winner Alexei Bilatsky, along with other leaders, and they were thanking Donald Trump. That there was some kind of a
That's
deal.
fascinating.
That was some kind of a deal, and some sanctions from Belarusian metal industry were lifted. So it's much more than just a deal about Ukraine. Probably they know that Putin is not going to accept a real peace deal with Ukraine, and they're trying to negotiate something else. They're
Yeah.
trying to make money in other industries, in other fields, in other territories. Um, it looks sometimes like from the beginning it sounds bad, but at the same time we see this consequence. We see great amount of prominent leaders of Belarusian civil society uh, are free, and definitely that's the result of some kind of negotiation, unexpected negotiation with Belarus and Trump administration,
Right.
and definitely it's necessary to thank Trump for that.
So you had an extraordinary newsletter today, I think today, or I read it today, about this hearing, this verdict um, against a famous Russian pop star,
You know,
Larissa
it's just
Dolina. How do you say it? Larissa
yeah,
Dolina. Have I got that
Larissa
right?
Dolina, Larissa Dolina, yeah, Larissa
Larissa
Dolina.
Dolina. And it occurs to me. I mean, I think you should walk our, you know, my readers who probably would never have heard of this woman because I hadn't. Um, what happened here and why it's so important. Um, and I guess my question to you, does it have anything to do with Trump's influence, if any, on Russia?
Uh, I think it's the story I decided to write about this very non-political issue. It has nothing to do to geopolitics. It has nothing to do to Ukraine. But just like you spend last days watching Luigi and his trial, it shows that sometimes the attention of the population of a huge country could be glued to some scandal, to some trial, which is not political at all, but still it becomes the most important issue for the whole nation. And sometimes it could look ridiculous, because this time I think that what is happening in Russia is a bit ridiculous, but it's an example how the whole country is hiding itself from the real problems, and at the same time are deeply involved in some very minor issue. Although it's very symbolic, there is like a digital uprising, which is the first time Russian civil society started protesting against anything since the beginning of the war with Ukraine. And during the last months, a lot of Russians were really, really active, protesting against the unjust decision of Russian court. And it makes no sense.
So Mikhail, will you walk everyone through
Yeah, there
who
is
this woman is and
a
what
Russian
happened?
a Russian pop singer who used to be popular 2 decades ago. That my first idea was to say that it's like uh, Mariah Carey, but it's not. It's less popular right now. It's like it could be Cyndi Lauper of Russia, if only. But what's important? She is used by Vladimir Putin, and every time when Russian national anthem should be performed on a red square, she's gonna be there. So she's not really popular. Older generation of pop singers, but very politically um, correct, and always supporting Putin, always supporting the war. And that's it. But somehow this person won a case in court against an ordinary mother of two, and the decision of the judge was obviously politically motivated, or like it was just very unjust. And this pop star
We should
happened
explain what the court case was about, right?
a year ago. A pop star had a phone call from some gangsters who convinced her that they were not gangsters, but they were officers of FSB, of Russian intelligence. And they convinced her that there is a special operation and she's under attack. So she had to sell her apartment and to transfer the money to some kind of verified account. And she did that. And only after that, it turned out that those people were not from FSB. They were really that was just a fraud, and she lost all of her money and her apartment. But that's only the beginning of the story, because she is such an influential person, close to a lot of people in real FSB, and she has her acquaintances in Russian government. So she started calling to her buddies, and they started putting pressure on the Russian judiciary. So the final um, result of all the hearings was shocking, because she won her apartment back, and she won her money back. And the person who bought the apartment from her lost everything. Although the person, mother of two, just simple, not known previously at all, Polina Luria, a person who was completely unknown, became the beloved victim, the most popular, unjustly robbed person in Russia. So the whole Russian society somehow was unified behind that victim against the pop star. And then the cancel culture started working. Everyone stopped stopped collaborating with this pop singer. She was kicked out of all the commercial contracts.
But so just so we understand, the reason people were so upset, right? Because when someone's being scammed and then they go to court and get their money back, usually one would think that's a very good thing. But the feeling was right that it was only because she was being done a political she'd
Yeah,
been
only
scammed, kind of like, okay, the money was gone.
it was
Um,
not. It was not about the scam. It was about her connections.
right,
Uh,
right.
it's clear that that anyone who's got connections, who is connected to the power, who's connected to the government or FSB, they can do whatever they want, and there is impossible for an ordinary person to have any kind of justice, and any ordinary person would always lose in court if there is like, even if he's 100% right, but if he's suing, or if they're sued by a person who represents the power, there is no chance of winning, even in this case. And it was 100% guaranteed for the buyer of the apartment, but somehow um, it was not. And
So just to understand, so the pop star lost all her money and therefore had to sell her apartment. And then, is that
first she
right? And
lost everything, and then she got everything back because the court
right.
decided that she has to get everything back no matter what.
So
Um,
the poor ordinary person who'd bought the apartment, therefore suddenly found herself minus the apartment she'd bought. Is that right?
Minus money and minus the apartment.
So understandably, the people of Russia rose up. I mean, they were indignant.
Yeah, to protect just an ordinary person. Yeah.
So yesterday's hearing was a reversal of, is that right?
Yes, yes, yes. After immense pressure from Russia, so it was the first example, probably in many years, when the voice of civil society meant something. Because the pressure, the public outrage was that big, so the Supreme Court uh, reversed all the prior decisions of all the lower courts. But what's important, it was yeah, the hearings were broadcasted online, and 170,000 people were watching live the hearings of the Supreme Court. That has never been the case in Russian history, which shows, which is, it's funny because that's no one would expect that the society that seems to be so apathetical and so apolitical, a society that pretends that nothing is happening, somehow was unified by a very social, um, almost political case against, like, protests against judiciary.
Yes. Well, I think, in all of our conversations, you have sort of thought all along that the way, Putin leaves office is, it's going to be the threat is going to be from within. The pressure is going to come from within. I think you've thought more than, I mean,
I
but
I don't mean that I think that any kind of revolution is possible. No, I don't believe in the revolution, but we see that it could happen in a very different way. Uh, the elite is always listening to the bigger society, and sometimes it's hard to ignore what society wants. If sometimes it's possible. It was clear that 3 years ago, when almost 4 years ago, when Putin started the war, that was clearly against the wishes and against the dreams of the whole Russian population. But that was a shocking decision, and that's why he needs to continue this war. That's why he needs to keep everyone under the press, uh, because this example shows a lot that there is a huge protest potential, and if he stops the war, those people who were protesting against judiciary and against Larissa Dolina, who is not a member of the government. She's just a singer who is standing next to the government. But like that is happening right now during the war. People are not afraid to speak out. Okay, this is not a political issue, but what's gonna happen if he stops the war? It will become. it will be much more serious.
Well, speaking of, all of these themes, the last time you and I spoke was the day of your book launch. And so I want to ask you, do you have any updates on whether it will be available in Russia yet?
It's hard to tell because I got only one important feedback from Russia, and I got it yesterday. Because yesterday I learned from the news about another criminal case against me. Uh, so yes,
What's that about? What is that?
mm, it's it's hard to understand, and that's the protocol about collaboration with so-called undesirable organization. Uh, there are a lot of new laws that were introduced in Russia during the last 5 years. A lot of different pretexts how dissidents could be prosecuted. So, and yes, I knew that many years ago um, uh, my NGO that is working in Germany to create educational projects for Russian people was labeled as undesirable organization. It's still working. It's not doing something extraordinary. It still exists. So the fact that they are accusing me of collaborating with undesirable organization means
Oh, that's right.
only one thing. They realize that they forgot about me for a few months, and here is the new book, so they need to react. So I really think that they are going to read the book. Probably they have started. Probably few people in FSB or in other organizations are reading the book and are trying to understand what can be done to stop it from being distributed in Russia and outside of Russia. So yeah, unfortunately, I have to expect new criminal case, new hearings. Probably there won't be that public outrage because many people understand that it's just in vain to protest in support of dissidents in exile. Dissidents in exile have chosen their
Yeah.
their their path, and they should go. They should proceed with their choice. But it's funny. It's funny that, like, in some countries we have literary prizes. In our country, in Russia, we have literary punishment.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's their form of flattery.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Is there anything I haven't uh, asked you that we haven't touched on that's happened in the last week since we've spoken?
Yeah, I think I mentioned about Belarus.
Yeah.
And that's important. Probably one more important news I would like to mention. It's also about the way how the government works, um, and how it's also the proof that even in Russian authoritarian state, the government is afraid of the society because
Mm.
the any activism in the society could be potentially dangerous. Right before the holidays in Russia, it's not Christmas is not that important, but the New Year is the most important holiday. So there is a week before the beginning of the holidays, and that's the last week for Russian parliament to work. And Russian State Duma, Russian parliament, is trying quickly uh, and probably unnoticed because the majority of the society is already preparing for the celebration. So it's uh, the most secure week to take all the most controversial decisions for Russian parliament. It has always been like that historically. All the worst laws, all the most repressive laws were introduced the last week of the year. Um, and now they are going to cancel the tradition to disclose the incomes of the bureaucracy. So the members of the government and their families and all other civil servants had to publish their tax declarations and to explain the sources of their income. And that was the initiative of former President Dmitry Medvedev. I mentioned him
Yeah.
few minutes ago. He used to be very liberal, pro-democracy and pro-transparency, what was important, president of Russia. That was his idea, and that's probably the last reminiscent of that thaw that used to happen in Russia 15 years ago. Basically, it's clear, independent media, Alexei Navalny, NGOs were using that law, were using all those declarations of Russian bureaucrats to investigate the corruption. Everything we knew about the level of corruption in Russian bureaucracy was due to that law, due to the mandatory disclosing of their income. And now they are going to cancel this necessity. So they're going to reverse that law. So it's going to be hidden. It's going to be open only to FSB and security services. Russia is going to be back to the most to the darkest authoritarian and non-transparent tradition. But it's important that it's very symbolic that they care about it. They really know that they don't want society to watch, because society will be nervous. Society doesn't like it.
Yeah. Well, Mikhail, as always, completely fascinating. Completely fascinating. And I guess we wait to see if Dabu Carlson is right. You and I will be talking very, very shortly, because that will change the ball game. I'm skeptical that we would actually go that far, but we'll see. We'll see. As always, thank you.
Thank you, Vicky.
Take care.
See you soon.
Bye.